recently, like 15 minutes ago, when we were getting ready to do the show, about some of the things that's going on in real estate that is new or unusual. Share with us some of the observations you made when we talked earlier.
Well, of course, if you're a buyer, today you have to sign a buyer's agreement with a realtor before they can show you any homes. And that's a new game that started August of 2024. But recently I had 2 transactions where the 4-point passed, but the insurance company wouldn't bind insurance.
Let's talk about the 4-point inspection for a moment. In Florida, to get insurance, you have to get a 4-point inspection, which is roof, electrical, plumbing, and air conditioning. So you're telling me that these houses passed the inspection?
Yep. And the insurance company would not bind insurance for 2 different reasons. One, they felt the roof needed to be replaced on one home, and the other one, they wanted the electric panel to be replaced, a GE panel, 42 years old.
There's a lot of insurance issues going on, and in one of our future shows, we're going to have an insurance agent to get on here and talk about it. Tell us more about what you do, Eric.
So I got a phone call from a lady that was working with a realtor that didn't handle her properly, and she needed to buy a condo. And I went through the screening and interviewed her, find out what was important to her. And then from that, I emailed her properties that I felt matched her criteria. She picked 6 of them. She came into town on a Saturday. We went from 9 to 11:30 and we looked at all of them. And there was clearly one that was the one she wanted. And we made an offer, and it's now pending.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
For us, that is Eric and I, we both come from the financial services industry. Eric was over 20 years as a stockbroker, selling stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities. It's a completely different mentality in securities because you really have to look out for your customers. In real estate, this is more like the wild, wild west. Have you ever had an audit?
Well, my Keller Williams audits me on every transaction I do.
Good point. Have you ever had any regulators visit your office?
If I did, I wasn't aware of it.
The point is that for me, observing real estate, I find that there's a tremendous difference between the financial services industry and the real estate industry. The real estate industry is the wild, wild west. And we see things that happen that are just inconceivable. Well, people get emotional when they do real estate. You got any great stories about people getting excited about their real estate nightmares?
I had a lady today, a realtor. She called me on a property that I have listed, and she ended up hanging up on me. And I called her right back. I said, "Did you hang up on me?" She goes, "Yes, I did." And I said, "Well, what did I do?" She goes, "I don't know, but I'm sorry." I said, "It's okay." Very unique.
Eric, you work like we did in the old days when you made a lot of dials to get, basically, how do you get someone to know, like, and trust you? How do you get people to decide you're the guy I want to work with or you're the gal I want to work with? And you make a lot of calls.
Yes, I do. Well, I have a lot to say, and I have a lot of people to say it to. And until a client says, "Uncle," I want to have a chance to try to earn their business when they're ready. I had a lady this morning call me. She's not been in my system for 7 months. And she said, I need you to sell a property I have in Clearwater. I said, great. And I'm going to go meet her tomorrow at 11 a.m. See you tomorrow, Nancy, if you're listening.
Nancy. Well, this is our first episode of this show, and I can't say we're the most prepared, but in our coming shows, we're going to talk about down payment assistance. We're talking about HELOCs. We're talking about some of the challenges in selling homes. We're going to talk about the question that nobody asks. We're going to talk about the buyer's broker agreement for sure. If you're looking at reaching out to Eric, share your contact information.
You dial 1 and I will answer. No, 727-409-4444. 3484. ERIC. You call me and I will answer. 727-409-3484.
That's terrific. And if you're near Curlew and 19 and you want to visit Eric at his office, he's at the Keller Williams office. What's the name of it? Ubaldini? Palm Harbor. The Keller Williams Palm Harbor office.
Curlew and 19.
Curlew and 19.
Set up appointment and I'll be there.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
This is my first effort at doing a radio show. And so I chose Eric because I felt like I would be more relaxed and he would feed back to me. So I'm going to ask him right now, feed back to me, please.
Please feed back. Great. Tell us something new, Randy, that's happened in your life.
Well, thank you. I just got a new radio show I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to be on the air from 5 to 6 over the next 52 weeks. I have a number of guests already lined up, dynamic, exciting, vibrant guests.
Oh, better than me.
Next week, I have Johnny Bazinski coming in.
Oh, Johnny B.
Johnny B and I met back in the early 2000s.
Love
I
him.
sold him a house.
He gave me a testimonial.
He was very generous. He ran the Ram Jack franchise up until a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He took advantage of that sinkhole thing that occurred in the early 2000s when sinkhole and sinkhole repair went crazy. He's got a company now called All Florida Foundation Repair, and he does seawall repair, he does settlement repairs, and he does artificial grass. And he's a great source of information, and he'll be on the show next week, Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m.
Fantastic. Johnny B, come on down.
Exciting. In 2 weeks, I'm going to have Teresa Franks from Frontier Title. Teresa's going to bring in a lot of title stories. If you don't know about title, it's a part of real estate that when you're a realtor, they tell you, stay in your lane. Let the lender do the lender thing. Let the title company do the title company thing. You stay in your lane and you do the realtor thing. And let me tell you, that is not the way I look at real estate. Your realtor needs to be the one that's going to be kind of like the air traffic controller. It's working on the transaction on your behalf. The strangest thing is the better the realtor you are, the less your clients and customers see the noise. I did a chat GPT question. I asked, what's the challenge that realtors face today? And you would think it would talk about interest rates and, the market going down and all the challenges of realtors face on the day-to-day. But what it really said was so interesting is that realtors face a crisis of confidence. There's some 30 real estate shows on TV right now. There's all these programs. There's a ton of information where the buyer or the seller can get all this information without actually ever having to talk to a realtor. And this crisis of confidence in the realtor model has caused people not to see the value. And the craziest thing is the best transactions, the smoothest transactions, the client doesn't see all that goes on behind the scenes. It would be great if you had a great story to talk about now where I could pass off this challenge of talking on the radio for the first time.
I don't believe I have a great story on that. What's the topic?
The challenges that realtors face in today's market.
Well, my brother recently wrote a book that is pretty excellent. It's called something, Realtoring Ghosting.
Realtoring in the Time of Ghosting.
Very good book.
Basically, people don't answer the phone and they don't open your emails and they don't see the value of a realtor in a transaction. So to become top of mind, why call Randy Jenkins? Well, I've got a lot of reasons why, and I wrote a book about it. But the bottom line is to become top of mind with the audience, which is your prospective clients and prospects, you have to be there. You have to show up. You have to give them content. And I'll take this opportunity because I have 2 minutes before my first break, and that is to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Randal Jenkins Real Estate, or subscribe to my Facebook channel, Randal Jenkins, Florida Real Estate Partners. Florida Real Estate Partners is the name of my brokerage, and I invite you to reach out to me with your challenges, your real estate challenges and opportunities. Call Eric if you have any interest in talking to a dynamic, young, and vibrant realtor.
Oh, yes.
Call me if you're more esoteric and you're kind of a book person and you don't want to have all the excitement of dealing with Eric. So we're going to go to a break so I can figure out what the next segment's going to be about. Thank you very much.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
After a car accident, there are many questions that you need answers to. Who pays for my car repairs? Who pays for the medical bills? What about my lost wages? And more. The personal injury law firm of Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes has been answering these questions for their clients for nearly 70 years. Since 1955, they've been a voice of the injured in the legal system. As one of the longest established law firms in Tampa Bay, Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes is here to answer your questions. Listen to their live call-in radio show on this channel every Tuesday evening from 5 to 6 p.m. or call them at 727-796-8282 or visit them at voiceoftheinjured.com. Offices Clearwater, non-attorney spokesperson.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back.
I missed everybody.
You missed everybody?
I missed them.
They're out there in traffic and they're on scan and they're driving down the road and they're pushing scan and then they stop on a dynamic, vibrant real estate show. We should switch over to their channel. What are they talking about?
Exactly.
As part of my business, since talking about your business is slowed down a bit, I provide coaching to realtors and I provide a marketing group. And in fact, Eric is a member of my marketing group. We have over 60 listings right now where our marketing group members have permission to remarket each other's properties. And part of that challenge of dealing with this new environment that we're in, where clients don't take your calls and they don't open your emails, how do you become top of mind? Well, the answer is by having a presence on your feed. Your real estate feed has to be where people seem to get to know and like you and learn about your business. So if you are considering doing real estate in the next year or 2 or 3, I invite you to follow my feed at Randal Jenkins, Florida Real Estate Partners on Facebook. And as I put out content and you see me go by, when it's time for you to call a realtor, who are you going to think of? Well, hopefully you'll think of me, Randal Jenkins. And I'll make it easy for you to remember my phone number. Everyone knows Formula 409 spray cleaner. 409 home is my phone number. That's 409-727-409-4663. You can also find me on the internet at 409home.com. And my email address is rj409home@gmail.com. Now, if you're a realtor out there and you're looking to build your business, all realtors know that you can market each other's properties with permission. So on a routine basis, I see listings that are fascinating, that are interesting, that are priced right, or they have amenities that are terrific. And I'll reach out to those realtors and get permission to remarket their products. And if you're building your business as a newer agent or an agent that needs help, you can reach out to me and join my marketing group where you'll have over 60 properties that you'll have permission to be able to remarket those properties on your feed. So Randal Jenkins, Realtor, Florida Real Estate Partners, feel free to reach out to me if you're looking for some free training. This is part of the building my coaching business that I'm doing this radio show. I have quite a bit of content, but I didn't want to bring it all out in one giant fire hose of content. I wanted to come in here and learn how to push the buttons. And I'm told that there's no buttons for me to push. I'm sitting here with my hands going, what do I do with my hands? Eric, you got out of the stock brokerage business and into real estate, and you came out pretty incredibly. I mean, you've done a lot of transactions. Your first year in the business, how did you do so well?
You know, I guess I got lucky because it took me 8 months to get my first transaction. And then after that, because the pipeline was built, they just started falling and coming into play. Open houses really are wonderful. Right now, it's a different animal, but ultimately, buyers look at homes. And when they look at a home, if they don't like it, they're very quick to say, this is not for me. And then I might ask them, what do you not like? What's important to you? Where do you want to be? And then go show them homes that match their criteria.
One of the things that I've noticed about you over the years is that you go into a house, if you show 6 or 8 houses, actually you have a whole bit of content about that. Talk about how it is when you go into a house.
Well, I like to go look at least 10 at a time. I've had a number of clients that want to look at 1 or 2, and it's very difficult to determine value when you look at so few homes. But if you can imagine looking at 10 homes in a 2 or 3 hour period, you're going to run into 2 or 3 that are pretty bad. And then you're going to run into another 2 or 3 that are actually worse. But of the remainder, there's going to be 1, 2, or 3 that are the best deals. And the only way you can learn that is by looking at so many that are not appropriate.
You also are quick to point out the negatives at houses.
I am. I see wood rot and I grab the client and I make them look at it because they don't have a tendency of noticing the bad. They're too busy noticing all the good. And I want them to stay away from bad and go look for good.
A lot of realtors are like, I don't know, say it wrong, but they're trying to sell something. I want to sell them something. I don't care what they buy. That's not your attitude.
No. Now, the client normally knows when, like I had this couple from Spain, and we looked at 31 homes in Ocala. And we got down to 4 that we all agree are the 4 that they have an interest in. And we made a verbal offer on all 4. One of them countered, and he's moving forward with that one. The other 3 didn't have any interest in working with us, and that's fine.
This mentality, this attitude that you have, do you think it goes back to your time in the financial services industry where you do the right thing for the customer?
I mean, you do the right thing for everybody. Just when you're driving, you let people come in, and you don't ever stop someone. And if there's kids around, you go a lot slower and you make sure it's safe. You just do the right thing. While we're on earth, it's just a lot better to go that route than hustle bustle and knocking people down. It's inappropriate.
Wow.
We have a wow, people. We have a wow.
That wasn't scripted, everybody. That was him telling the truth.
Well, I like listings too. You know, right now I think I have 19 active listings, and I have 4 that are pending. And the majority of my clients are very unmotivated. They don't have to sell immediately. If they did, they wouldn't be working with me, because my clients normally, they have a price in mind, and I want to fulfill that. I want to help them get the most they can when they list with me.
Of course, the more they get, the more you get.
Yeah, but it's incidental when you talk about, getting a little commission on the last bit of dollars. But I had a lady recently that we negotiated a deal, and then we we got it pending, and then we did an inspection, and the inspection report was absolutely horrendous, one of the worst ever. We knew it was going to be bad. We just didn't know it was going to be this bad. And then we just took the report and sent it to the other agent and said, we'd like a price reduction. And they came back and countered the amount we wanted. And my client was elated to get the price reduced by as much as we did on the second round. So it pays to work with a realtor that's done a few transactions. How many transactions have you done, Randy?
It's under 800.
Not very far away.
It goes up. I had a few this year. This year's been actually a pretty great year. I don't believe it's anything to do with what I'm doing today. I think it's just because over the years building up the the presence in the market, and people call you. That's the one thing that's different from us. I don't chase business. I don't make outgoing calls. I return calls, but I'm not. I guess you got to say I'm lazy in that respect. But my father said, if you want something done efficiently, get a lazy man to do it, and they'll figure out how to get it done with the least amount of effort. And that may not be a great testimonial to any kids who may be watching. The guy on the radio said to be lazy. I'm going to share something. It's a story. It's not a story, but it is a story. Yeah, I love stories. So AI, AI, you can talk to AI. And I was looking at the differences between MLS and, the Zillows and the Redfins and the Yahoo Real Estate and all the other sources. People, Movado, they think that these other sources of properties are valid, not realizing that everything is really playing off of the MLSs. And what I noticed, and what I really believe I didn't really comprehend previously, was that MLS has probably, I don't know how many, over 200 data input points that you can put on a listing, where Zillow only allows you to search for 10 or 20 of these points. So the question became, what do we do to be able to get our MLS listing product to be able to be found on Zillow? And after interacting with AI, I came to the realization that you have to become, and I was calling it a Zillow keyword expert, but it really isn't. It's really an MLS keyword expert that allows the content of your MLS listing to be able to be found on Zillow and Movado and Redfin and all these other sites. And the biggest keywords that I think should be on a listing in the public remarks on MLS. And if there's any realtors out there right now that don't know this, hopefully there's a light bulb going off with a sudden realization that you can get more hits, not social media hits. I'm talking about more clicks on your listings if your listings are easily to be found. For example, something like 70% of all homes are sold FHA. Well, there's no FHA button on Zillow. So if you don't have FHA in the public remarks of your MLS listing, then it won't show up on a Zillow keyword search for FHA. And now all of my listings are evolving into I do the remarks, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, block home, great neighborhood, fenced-in backyard, all the descriptive words that describe what the property is. And then I'll just stop and I'll do keywords: FHA, VA, conventional, no flood zone, all of the words that people are looking for that won't be searchable by Zillow should be part of every MLS description, so that it will be found on a keyword search on Zillow and the other sites.
Yeah, so if you're a seller and you have a newer realtor, they may not be putting that on the public remarks, which can cause the seller's home not to get the visibility that it deserves.
Yeah, the ultimate to get the most amount of money for your house, you have to have the most amount of people looking at it in the least amount of time. How can you get multiple offers on your property when nobody even knows it's there? What's the 3-point plan of marketing?
Put a sign on the ground
Put it on MLS
and pray.
and pray. Now, every realtor does that, but a lot of realtors do some other things as well, including a premium location on realtor.com, a subscription to homes.com, the 3D Matterport walkthrough, QR codes on signs, one house websites. One thing that you do with every listing is your 2 videos.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer in video. Videoed homes are viewed 400% more than non-videoed homes. And with YouTube, it cost me nothing to do a video.
Now you do something else that I started doing, but it's really your genius. Basically, somewhere around 2% of homes are sold to a neighbor or family member or friends and family of somebody in that neighborhood. But half the time it's dark. How do you overcome that where they don't see the sign?
Well, they have some solar lights that are out now for the last 3 or 4 years that they charge up in the day, and at night they turn on. And that way the sign is visible at night.
Your signs are pretty amazing.
Thank you.
You spend a lot of time and money on your signs.
I do.
The fact is, if you're thinking about hiring a listing agent, you really got to Google or find some pictures of, do you think that'll come up if you put it up by the camera that you think you can see them? Eric's like a savant as far as lighted signs go. His signs are amazing. He has thousands of pictures of his signs. And do signs work?
Well, people do drive by, and neighbors sometimes see it, and then they grab an information package out of the box, and then they call me and say, hey, I want a lighted sign in my yard, so I get another listing. And that's a good thing for everybody.
Well, I am a lighted sign believer, and I have lighted signs on all of my newer listings. Some of my older listings didn't get the benefit of being lighted when they were listed, but on all my new listings, we'll have lighted signs. And I'm going through my notes, looking for great content to provide as much value as we can to our audience. Tell me, how do you feel about contingent offers?
I love offers. Contingent, cinnamon, vanilla, chocolate. I take any offer I get and just give it to the client.
Well, let me tell you, I love contingent offers. I've had some great experiences. A contingent offer generally means somebody has to sell their home to buy the next home. And it's a real transitional challenge, a logistics nightmare. How do you sell your house when you haven't got another home to buy? And so what will happen is a home will be on the market, their home, and they aren't very negotiable because they have nowhere to go. So when I get a contingent offer, I look at their property and I look at what their pricing is, and I look at what their motivation is, and then I look at what they're selling and I look at what they're buying. And my experience with contingent offers has been terrific. I can give you 3 or 4 examples where the buyer of my property, who was very non-negotiable on the sale of their property, when they suddenly had an opportunity to have a house that they really wanted, which was my house, that I was selling, they suddenly became super negotiable on the sale of their property. And I've had transactions where we've accepted the contingent offer and the other party put their home under contract within days, 6 days and less, because they had somewhere to go. And when I take a listing and I explain contingent offers, now a lot of realtors don't want to take contingent offers because they want an immediate transaction. They want action. But the beauty of contingent offers is they don't fight about the price as much as somebody who doesn't have to buy something. So if you've got a seller that needs to sell to buy a property, and you're in that situation, and your realtor or the people you're talking to aren't anxious to take a contingent offer, well, just call me. I love contingent offers.
That's excellent.
All right, you want to talk about when you're on a listing appointment? Let's say there's 3 or 4 or 5 people that are competing for the listing, and then they all have to give a guesstimate of what their house is worth. And sometimes that seller will pick the agent that claims they can sell their house at the highest price. You know what that's called?
Price-stitution.
Price-stitution. And there's stories of certain realtors that have done an amazing job of getting listings by promising to get giant numbers for their house. And then what happens after they list it?
Very few showings, and then disgruntled seller, and then they fire the realtor.
Or the realtor spends the rest of their lives saying, we got to bring the price down. We got to bring the price down.
Yeah.
I know we're both thinking of a particular realtor that just destroyed a neighborhood by doing this, because ultimately the sales prices ended up being below what would have been an appropriate sales price had the property been marketed correctly from the beginning.
Excellent point.
How do you feel about pre-listing inspections?
Well, I mean, really important, because if you're a seller and you're thinking about allowing a conventional or a FHA or a VA buyer, then your home has to pass a 4-point. If it doesn't pass a 4-point, the buyer can't buy the property. And nowadays, even with a passing 4-point, you still might not be able to bind insurance without doing something over and beyond to make the insurance company happy. So you go into a home, if you've done a few of these, and if you see rust on a water heater, it's going to have to be replaced. And it might be a good idea to do that before you list the property. You might be able to do it for a lot less money than if you have it listed on the market and you're on a time crunch. Same with the air conditioner, same with every part of the home, double tapping the electric panel to polybutylene piping. There are so many avenues that have to be looked at in order to allow a buyer to buy the property.
That brings up the point of as is does not mean as is. Let's talk about it after our next break, which is coming up right now.
See you soon.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you looking for a job? Join me, Gene Hodge, on the Employment Opportunity Hour from 7 to 8 p.m., where I will tell you and share with you, as well as answer all of your questions and help you find enjoyable employment instead of a job. This is the only talk show that talks about everyone who makes up our workforce. Join me on the Employment Opportunity Hour from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Employment Opportunity Hour.
That's the Employment Opportunity Hour, Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour, Wednesdays from 6 to 7 right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. So as is contracts. It used to be that we did contracts that had an opportunity for the buyer to request repairs in the contract. And it's been so long since anyone has used one of those contracts. I don't even remember what they're called.
They're scary.
They're scary.
They're scary.
Yeah, everyone uses an as-is contract, and every seller says it's as is. It's as is.
As is very unique because the seller thinks that they don't have to do anything in order to sell the home. And that simply is not as is. If you are allowing a buyer to use financing, then it has to pass a 4-point. And the buyer can't fix the home because they don't own the home. Only the seller can. So as is means that the seller is willing to fix what's necessary, or they have to relist the home as cash only because they know it can't finance.
And they're required to disclose the inadequacy of the house.
Good point.
If your home fails the roof inspection and you say, well, I'm not making that repair, and let's find somebody that'll buy it with a bad roof, you're required to disclose the bad roof to the next buyer. And the discount you're going to get for having a bad roof is it's ridiculous, because there's roofers out there that are going, I'll fix the roof and you can pay at closing.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of pay at closing vendors that will take the job and they will do the repair and they'll get paid at closing. So don't be afraid of an as-is, meaning that you have to do the repairs. But ultimately, you're not going to get the same kind of number if you have to disclose that the repairs have to be made.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that if you're selling a home and you're thinking about hiring a realtor, having a realtor that's done, how many transactions have you done, Randy?
I don't know, over 700.
So he's run into a few ideas that have turned into problems that he's resolved in order to get the home sold. So if you're thinking about selling your home and you have issues, you need someone who's done 700 plus transactions to help you get across the finish line.
Or you can hire Eric, because he's got a really good real estate coach that he can call and say, I got a problem.
If you got a lot of problems, you call Randy. If you've got a gorgeous home that is magnificent and you want top dollar and you want a realtor that's not going to lowball it and stick it out there, then you call me and I'll help you.
It's a joke. If you have problems and anybody can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It just seems like everything I do has got issues, and that's how I sometimes am able to solve the problem.
I have a lender lady that I use only when I have a problem, and she's smart. And she said, Eric, why do you only use me on problems? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Because she takes care of it.
She knows how to deal with it.
Yeah. But now lately I've been using her when I don't have a problem. When it's just a nice loan, she takes care of it just as well.
Great. So we've got a little more time. So let's talk about some of the issues that I find to be challenging on a listing. Eric and I don't agree on this, but my biggest peeve regarding listings is when the listing says buyer to verify. A lot of realtors and a lot of listings will have information that's not been gathered in advance. Some of the things have to do with lease restrictions and pet restrictions and deed restrictions. And, can you rent this house out? And it says buyer to verify. And to me, it's a malpractice. I mean, to get the most exposure for your home, you need to have the information on the listing. For example, there's a really fine neighborhood in Land O'Lakes, Plantation Palms, tremendous neighborhood, golf course community. I got a listing in there years ago, and at that time there had been around 70 or 75 homes marketed in that neighborhood. And I went through every single one of them, and not one of them did it say what the pet restrictions were. It took me 5 days of calling the homeowners association to find out what the pet restrictions are, because I went through all of their documents and I could not find the pet restrictions. And do you know why?
They don't have any.
They don't have any pet
Nice.
restrictions. And no pet restrictions means that you can have a 100-pound dog.
Yeah.
If you come to town and you have a 110-pound dog and you only want to live in a neighborhood that will allow you to keep your dog, what are the chances you're going to say, oh, here's a golf course community. I wonder if they'll let me have a 110-pound dog. What are the chances that your buyer is going to spend 5 days calling the HOA to try to find out what the pet restrictions are? The chances are absolutely zero. Nobody's calling to find out if you have a 100-pound dog that you can have it in that neighborhood. Now, there's another challenge that goes with this. And if you are on YouTube and you find my YouTube channel, look at my video, Real Estate and the 100-Pound Dog. And I'm going to use this to take up some time. Let's do it opposite. Let's say you have a 5 or 10-pound dog. And I'm going to use Pasco County because I have their numbers in my head. There are 4,586 or so properties available in Pasco County. How many of them can have a 5 or 10-pound dog? Well, there's a button on MLS called Small Dog. And if you click it, there's around 200 properties that allow a small dog. Well, you know what else can have a small dog?
Anyone that has a big dog.
Any property that's pre-approved for a medium-sized dog.
Wow.
So if you click on medium-sized dog and large dog and extra large dog, there are actually 600 houses that can have a small dog. You know what else can have a small dog? Homes without deed restrictions. And you know how many homes in Pasco County have no deed restrictions? Thousands, exactly. It's like 2,200 or 2,400. I haven't looked lately. So there are probably around 3,000 properties that can have a small dog. But if you go on MLS and search for it, there's only 200 and something. And this is one of the idiosyncrasies of computers. And if I ever become the president of the board or the president of MLS, I'm going to make that button. When you click small dog, it automatically clicks all of them.
That's genius.
But right now, you can't click all of them. You actually have to search each one individually, one at a time. This is one of the things about computers and being in an industry long enough to start noticing, wow, I got a new one. I hate to say it, but I learn every day. I learned the other day the difference between elevated and stilted. If you're buying in a flood zone and you don't want to pay the big flood insurance, you need to buy a stilted home. But elevated doesn't mean stilted. Elevated means a mobile home's 3 feet off the ground. It's elevated, but it's not stilted. I was working on a listing recently, and it's a smallish neighborhood. I went through the last 5 years. There were 75 properties that had been listed. Some had sold, some had withdrawn, some had canceled. And I was able to find 10 properties that were, I want to say elevated. I mean stilted. They were above the floodplain. And that means that those properties would have the lower flood insurance. They would be less likely to flood. I mean, the flood plain is 17 feet above, 16 and a half, 17 feet above sea level. So if you're above 17 feet, that means that you don't have to buy the same kind of flood insurance as a house on the ground. But the idea that this button is clicked or not clicked. And then I found some homes that sold, and they definitely were not being considered as stilt homes. They were sold as if they were homes on the ground. And this is one of those idiosyncrasies about MLS and about computers that you really need to know. And I'm sure there's examples of people who have listed their homes and ultimately canceled the listing, or the listing expired and they never sold their home, and they don't know why. And the fact is, if you have one of those homes, what I recommend is to look at the old listing. Did it have buyer to verify? Did it have answers under deed restrictions or pet restrictions or lease restrictions? You know, maybe you didn't have the complete opportunity to get as much exposure for your home as you could.
You know, you bring up a very interesting events that are happening in my life with real estate, and I'm seeing a homeowner that's selling where it didn't sell, and then they're going to hire a new realtor. So they asked me to take a look at the listing. And when I look at it, the first thing I look at is exterior wall. And if it says stucco and it doesn't say block or wood, then the home is not being pulled on a search.
That's a great point. And that also brings up two things that have suddenly sprung to mind. One is the second realtor phenomenon. Greg Armstrong's, Cynthia Armstrong. 10, 15 years ago, I'm in the Caldwell Banker, and I'm in one of the offices, and I hear Cynthia on the phone. Cynthia, if you're listening, thank you. I have used this ever since then. It's called the second realtor. The second realtor sells the home. It's because the first realtor had to, the way I word it is that the seller has to come to the realization that they can't get what they want. Now, maybe the realtor gave them unrealistic expectations, and maybe they listed it because of price institution. But ultimately, that home didn't sell. And now they lower the price, and what happens?
Well, one of the things that happens when you're a buyer and you're interviewed by a realtor that's a professional, they're going to find out, will you look at a wood frame home? Will you look at a manufactured home? Will you only look at a block home? And if they, a lot of people will only buy a block home, which is great. So when I do a search for a block home, if it says the word stucco, that home is not being pulled up. I'm not even showing it. And lately, when I find a neighborhood that's good for my buyer, I will do a stucco search just to see how many unique realtors are out there that have it listed as stucco, because nobody does a search for stucco home. It's either block or wood or manufactured, period.
Well, what they're trying to do, and I've had this discussion before, well, I just wanted to be correct. There's another criteria on MLS that has this challenge, and that is canal saltwater versus canal brackish. Oh, my God.
Big
hey,
difference.
Look, if you're searching for a Gulf access waterfront property, the button is called canal saltwater. If you live on the river, you click river, but you dang sure better click canal saltwater. If you're a waterfront, Gulf front property, I would click canal saltwater. And it's not a canal. No, it's not. But people who are searching for Gulf access waterfront property, the canal saltwater is where those properties are. Another one that, you want to say something?
I was going to say that if you are thinking about selling and you want to have the right realtor introduce your home to the world, you call me if it's a smooth transaction, there's no problems. But if it's got a few problems and you got some issues, you need to go with someone that's done 750 plus transaction, and that's Randy.
Great. I'm going to get the nightmares.
Yeah, I'm Eric Jenkins at Keller Williams. My direct line, 727-409-3484. I look forward to competing for your valued real estate business. My clients are at the top of my priority.
Was that scripted?
No, that was from my
That's
heart.
exactly the same message you leave on all those 150 calls that no one answers.
Thank you.
All right, there's one more criteria that now that we're on this criteria thing.
Yeah.
Zoned for horses. 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
I can do zone for horses in 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Interestingly, if you have a horse and you want to go shopping and you click zone for horses, those properties are going to be more expensive than the ones where the realtor did not click the button. In some counties, if it's zoned agricultural and it has 1 acre, it means
3 hoofed animals.
you can have 3 hoofed animals.
Or 1 swine.
Or
Pasco.
1 pig.
1 pig.
So if you're shopping for, and I love zone for horses, I love horses, I love dirt. If you want to go shopping for stables and barns and horses, don't click zone for horses, because all the deals are in the ones that are miscategorized.
Good
the
point.
ones that are zoned agricultural, but aren't clicked zoned for horses. And
Genius.
it's one of the things about MLS and about computers and about the idiosyncrasies of real estate. You don't know what you don't know. And that's one of the things. I love new agents. And when they have a great broker that handles the transaction and trains them and teaches them, then you're fine working with somebody who's newish. But the challenge is that we all ended up learning all the things that are so critical by making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And new agents wonder why their friends and family don't want to use them to do business.
Be my guinea pig.
Yeah, I want to learn how to do real estate on you, Pop. Say, well, maybe not. We have one more minute. So let's take this opportunity to remind you, I'm Randal Jenkins. This is the Randal Jenkins Real Estate Hour. You can find me on the web at 409home.com. You can find me on YouTube at Randal Jenkins Real Estate. You can email me at rj409home. You can get onto that's at Gmail. You can get onto my Facebook page and follow my content at Randal Jenkins Florida Real Estate Partners. If you have any interest in talking about real estate, talking about financing, talking about how to sell, and you would like to talk to somebody who is going to be there and be in your court, 10, 9, 8. This is my first show. I don't know how to end it. I see
Happy
the time.
New Year!
He said end it. All right, I'm going to get off now. Thank you so much. Thank you to my engineer. Thank you to Eric for being on my show.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you for everyone watching. Let's call this one done.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. The U.S. indicts former Cuban leader Raul Castro and other top officials in the deadly 1996 downing of humanitarian planes. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Nations and their leaders cannot be permitted to target Americans